Hi guys, welcome back. In the last session, we understood how to achieve inter-service communication in our microservices. Inter-service communication nothing but accessing one API from another API is called as inter-service communication. So here, there are two REST APIs available in my application. One is called as Welcome API. Another one is called as Greet API. Welcome API and Greet API are called as my backend APIs. Those APIs are registered with my service registry. Service registry, I'm using Eureka. So that Eureka server is used to maintain what all the services available in our application, what is the name of each service, what is the status of each service, and what is the URL of the service. And we have implemented Fian client in our application. My Welcome API having Fian client. So whenever we send the request to the Welcome API, that Welcome API is using Fian client. Using that Fian client, Welcome API communicating with the Greet API. So here, as Welcome API communicating with the Greet API, that is called as inter-service communication. For that inter-service communication, if you observe, we have used Fian client. The benefit of using that Fian client is, by using Fian client, we can communicate from one API to another API without giving the service URL. So here I have created Fian client interface and I have given name as a Greet API. So here, what Fian client will do is, this Fian client will communicate with the service registry based on the name. It will get the URL. Using the URL, it will communicate with the Greet API and will give the response back to the Welcome API. And if you see in my Welcome REST controller, I have injected my Greet Fian client and I'm calling Greet client.invoke Greet API. It will give the Greet message. Welcome message and Greet message combined response I'm sending from the Welcome. So with this, we understood what is inter-service communication. Guys, are you able to practice that inter-service communication in the project? Are you able to achieve inter-service communication? Are you able to achieve the inter-service communication? Yes, we are good. Fine, guys. So today I'm going to explain another concept called load balancer. Today I'm going to explain another concept called load balancer. So what is this load balancer? Load balancer is used to distribute application load to multiple servers. Load balancer, distribute application load to multiple servers to reduce burden. For example, if I am running my application in one machine, if multiple users are accessing my application, then the burden will be increased on the server. Let us take an example. So here I'm running my application. Assume that this is my server. Inside this server, I'm running my application. Inside the server, I'm running my application. Now, users are available. Those are called as my customers. Those customers are sending the request to my application and they are accessing. Currently, my application is running in one server. And the users are accessing my application. When users send a request, it will come to my server and it will process that request and it will send the response to the client. Okay, fine. So currently the RPM is 1000. What is RPM? Requests coming per minute. So currently my project RPM is 1000 and one server is available per minute. 1000 users are accessing my application and my application is able to handle the load. For example, if our project became very popular in the market and RPM increased to 10,000 guys. Earlier, my project RPM is only 1000. Then 3 My project RPM became 1000 and users are accessing per minute. Request per minute is 1000. So users are sending the request to our application. Application is able to handle that load. For example, now my request got increased. My application became very popular in the market. From 1000, it reached to 10,000. Requests per minute, 10,000. 10,000 requests are coming per minute. When 10,000 requests are coming per minute, one server is sufficient to handle the load or one server is not sufficient to handle the load? Guys, tell me, one server is sufficient to handle the load or one server is not sufficient to handle the load? One server is not sufficient to handle the load. If you have only one server to run your application, so many requests are coming to your application, application server is not sufficient, then your application will be crashed. So here, when the RPM is 10,000, one server not sufficient. So what we need to do is, in that scenario, we need to deploy our application in multiple servers. This is a server 1. Inside this server, my application will run. So this is server 1. Inside this server, my application will run. Similarly, same application I will run in another server. Same application I will run in another server. Like this, instead of running our application in one server, we are going to run our application in multiple servers. When we run our application in multiple servers, here we are going to configure LBR for our application. That LBR is nothing but load balancer. This load balancer will be connected to all the servers in which our application is running. The number of servers that are running our application are called as instances. What are those called as, guys? Those are called as instances. My application is having 3 instances now. Now what will happen? Whatever the requests that are coming from the users, those requests will not go to my server directly because my application is not running in one server. My application is running in multiple servers. All those servers are connected to one load balancer URL. Load balancer will be available. So earlier we are having only 1000 RPM. So directly our application is deployed in one server. People will send the request to our application. That server can process that request. Server can send the response. That is fine. But my business got increased. My customers got increased. Then many users are accessing my application. When our RPM is increasing, our server capacity is not sufficient. That's why in the real time, instead of running our application in one server, we will run our application in multiple servers. Same application will be deployed into multiple servers. Multiple servers will be available. Now, for example, here I'm running my Spring Boot application in the embedded server. The embedded server port number is 8080. Now here, this is one instance. I will run this instance on 8080. This will run on 8081 and this will run on 8082. Application is same, but it is running in 3 servers. Those are called as instances of our application. So when we are running our application in multiple instances, we need to connect our instances to load balancer. Whenever request comes to the load balancer, then the load balancer will distribute the traffic to all the instances of our application in the round robin fashion. First request will go to first instance, second request will go to second instance, third request will go to third instance. Then fourth request will go to first instance, fifth request will go to second instance, sixth request will go to third instance. That is called round robin fashion. So what is the problem if I run my application in one server, and what are the advantages if I run my application in multiple servers? Come on guys. If I run my application in one server, then what is the problem? If I run my application in one server, then what is the problem? That server cannot handle the load. When more number of requests are coming, our servers will crash. Our application will be down. So that's why in the real time, application will never run in single server. in the real time, our applications will run in multiple servers for high availability. Someone is asking, when application is running in multiple servers, then what about database? Okay, guys. Paramita Das is asking, what about the database? So I'm saying that application will be only one, application configuration will be only one. You will package your application as a jar file. You will run the jar file 3 times. So the database properties will be same in the application, right? Just the jar file we are running 3 times. All the 3 instances will connect to the single database only. So I'm just running the instances. That means I have a jar file for my Spring Boot application. I will run the jar file. Earlier we are running the jar file 1 time. That means it will run in 1 server. Now the same jar file I will run in the 3 times. Same jar file I will run 3 times. 3 instances will be created. Those 3 instances, nothing but 3 copies of our application will connect with the same database. Those are called as instances of our application. Are you guys clear? What is load balancer and why we need to go for load balancer? What is load balancer and why we need to go for load balancer? Load balancer is used to distribute application load to multiple servers to reduce the burden. Distribute application load to multiple servers to reduce the burden. LBR is used to distribute application load to multiple servers to reduce burden. When we run application on the single server, when we run application on single server, then it may not handle huge load. When many requests are coming to single server, server might crash, application will go down. When many requests are coming, then our server might crash and app will go down. To reduce this, to avoid these problems, we will use load balancer in the real time. Load balancer for application execution. So what is a load balancer? Load balancer is used to distribute our application load to multiple servers. Instead of running application in the single server, we will run our application in multiple servers. Instead of running our application in single server, we will run our application in multiple servers to reduce burden. The servers which are running our application are called as instances. When we run application on the single server, then it may not handle huge load. When many requests are coming, then our server might crash and the app will go down. To avoid these problems, we will use load balancer for application execution. Right, guys? LBR is used to distribute application load to multiple servers to reduce the burden. Instead of running our application in single server, we will run our application in multiple servers to handle the load. Okay, guys. Now, all the servers, when application is running in multiple servers, then we will call them as instances. Application is only one, but that application is running in multiple servers to handle the load. When application is running in multiple servers, then those servers are called as instances. Now, guys, let me show you how to run multiple instances of our application. First, let me go and execute my service registry. Okay, guys, before going to do that, I want to make one small change here, guys. So now in the YML file, I'm configuring the port number as 9091. So if I run my greet API, in which port number it will run? It will run on the 9091. Can I run 3 servers with the same port number in the same machine? Can I run my application in 3 servers with the same port number, or I need to use a different port number? Can I run my application with the same port number in the 3 servers, or I need to have different port number? Can I use the same port number, or I should not use the same port number? We should not use the same port number. So that's why, guys, observe clearly what I am doing is, in the greet API, I'm removing the port number. Earlier, I have hard-coded the port number in the properties file for the greet API. Now I am removing that port number. In the greet API, I'm going to make a small change in the REST controller. I'm going to inject one object called environment object, guys. That is from Spring Core. I'm injecting one environment object here. From the Spring Core, we have one interface called environment. I'm going to do auto wiring. What is the purpose of this auto wiring? To inject the dependent object. What object I injected into greet REST controller? I injected environment object. Why I injected environment object? I want to understand env.getProperty server.port. Okay, on which port number my greet API is running, I want to get that port. I want to print that port, greet API port number. I want to print that port number. Okay, in which port number my server is running, I want to access that. So here in the YML file, I have removed the port number. I will pass the port number dynamically, guys. For the Spring Boot application, earlier I have hard-coded the port number. I have removed the port number. If I remove the port number, what it will take? Default 8080. But for the greet API, I don't want to take 8080. For the greet API, I want to give the custom port number. So what I will give is, here I will give first instance 9091, second instance 9092, third instance 9093. So I want to run my greet API in 3 instances. I want to run 3 instances for the greet API. Every instance is nothing but one server. That server will use one port number. So if you see, for the greet API, I have hard-coded the port number as 9090. Now I am going to pass that port number dynamically. From the properties file, I have removed that port number. And in the controller, I injected environment object. By using environment object, I am getting the property server.port number. What is the purpose of server.port number? It will give you port number of our server. In which server our app is running. Get that server port number. For that, I am using environment.getProperty. So I want to send a response. Good evening. That's response coming from which server? My greet API will run in multiple servers. I want to do the load balancing. When the greet API is running in the multiple servers, in which server our request processed, which server handled our request, I want to send the response along with the port number. If a port number displaying as 9091, I will understand that it processed in the first server. If a port number is 9092, I will understand that it processed in the second server. If a port number is 9093, I will understand that it processed by third server, third instance. Okay, guys. Okay, perfect. I'm able to get the port number and I'm sending that port number along with the response. Okay, guys. Good evening response will come along with the port number. Now, with this, let me clean my projects in my workspace. Very good. Yes, next up, let me start my service registry. Right click, run as boot application. My service registry application is getting started. Nothing but my Eureka server is starting. My Eureka server will run on the port number 8761. I have given that port number in the YML file. So once Eureka server is started, let us access Eureka in the browser. Localhost : 8761. Localhost : 8761. I'm able to access my Eureka. Can you see in the Eureka server currently any instance is available or currently no instance is available? Currently in the Eureka server, any instance is available or no instance is available? No instance is available. Now I want to run greet API. Greet API I want to run, right? Before that, let me go for admin server. Run the admin server. I'm running my admin server. Admin server is used to monitor and manage our application actuator endpoints. Admin server I'm using to monitor and manage my application actuator endpoints. Admin server is running on the port number 1111. Let me go to my browser and let me access my admin server. Okay, localhost colon 1111. Localhost colon 1111. I'm trying to access my admin server. So currently, how many applications available in the admin server? Any application registered in the admin server? Application not registered in the admin server? Application not registered in the admin server. 0 applications are available in the admin server. In the Eureka also, 0 applications are available. Now I want to run my Greet API. Greet API, I will run in one server, or I want to run the Greet API in 3 servers. I want to run the Greet API in one server, or I want to run the Greet API in the 3 servers. 3 servers. Why 3 servers? Why 3 servers? Load balancing. I want to distribute the load. I want to distribute the load. If I run in one server, all the requests will come to one server, server might crash. I want to do the load balancing. So that's why I want to run my Greet API in 3 servers. For 3 servers, 3 different port numbers are required. Observe carefully, guys. This step is very important. Greet API application is available. In the Greet API application, properties file, YML file, am I configuring the port number or I am not configuring the port number? I want all of you, please concentrate for the next 15 minutes. It is very important. Did I configure port number in the YML file or I did not configure port number in the YML file? All of you, please respond and keep yourself active. Right. I have not configured port number in the YML file. Now, I want to run this application first instance with 9091, second instance with 9092, third instance with 9093. I will pass the port number dynamically. I will pass the port number dynamically. Observe carefully. Greet API. Right click on the Greet API. Run as run configuration. Directly, if I use run as boot application, it will choose default port number. For the embedded container, what is the default port number? 8080. Now I don't want to take 8080. I want to take 9091. So now I'm not going for run option directly. I'm going for run as a run configuration. When you go for run as run configuration, this pop-up will open. In this pop-up, you select which API you want to run. In this pop-up, select which API you want to run. I want to run Greet API with a dynamic port number. Select Greet API. Okay, guys, observe once again, I'm showing you. Right click on your Greet API, run as run configuration. Once you go for the run configuration, select the Greet API and go to arguments. In the arguments section, there is an option called VM arguments. -d server.port is equal to 9091. So this is the option to supply the port number dynamically. Here -d represents, it is a runtime argument for my application. -d represents, it is a system property. It is the runtime argument for my application. Now I selected Greet API. I selected arguments. I'm given -d server.port is equal to 9091. Click on apply, click on run. Now Greet API will run on the port number 9091. Greet API will run on the port number 9091. Go to service registry and verify. My Greet API started or Greet API not started? Greet API started. On which port number it started? On 9091 port number it started. Let us go to the browser and access that Greet API. Localhost colon 9091/greet. Am I able to get the response along with the server port number? Am I able to get the response along with the server port number? Yes. How I am getting the server port number? If you see in my REST controller of the Greet API, I am injecting environment object. Environment.get property of server.port. It has given me on which port number my server is running. When I send the request to the Greet API, it is giving the response along with the port number. With this port number, can I understand in which server my request got processed? Okay, perfect. How many instances started for the Greet API now? How many instances I have started for the Greet API now? One instance I have started for the Greet API. Okay, it registered with the Eureka server. Go to admin server. One application started. How many instances available? One instance is available. Now I want to start another instance. Already Greet API running in one server with port number 9091. Now I want to run the Greet API in another server. Second instance I want to start with a different port number. Right click on the Greet API, observe. Right click on the Greet API, run as, run configurations, select the Greet API, go to arguments 9092. So I'm passing the dynamic port number. -d server.port is equal to 9092. Click on apply, click on run. Now I am starting second instance of the Greet API. Same Greet API, but running in the different server now. Now go to our Eureka server. Go to our Eureka server. Now refresh. Now can you see the two instances are available for the Greet API? One is running on the 9091, another one is running on the 9092. Two instances up to Greet API only, but two instances are available. Same application running in the two servers. Now go to browser, localhost :9091/greet. I'm getting the response. Okay, same URL, take it, send it to another instance running in the 9092/greet. 9091 greet I'm able to access. 9092 greet also I'm able to access. That means, can I say my Greet API is running in two servers? Can I say these are two applications or one application running in two servers? Am I running two different applications in two different servers? I'm running same application in the two different servers. I'm running same application in the two different servers. Can we call them as instances? Can we call them as instances? Perfect. Greet API running in two instances. One instance is having 9091 port number. Another instance is having 9092 as a port number. Similarly, can I run another instance, third instance? Can I run the third instance? Come on guys, how to do that? Right click on the project, run as boot application. Sorry. I have started as a boot application. I should not. Right click, run as, run configuration, and go to arguments, Greet API 9093. Apply, run. Now I have started Greet API with 9093 port number. Perfect. Now go to our Eureka server. Go to our Eureka server and check it. How many instances available for the Greet API? How many instances available for the Greet API now? Guys, how many instances available for the Greet API now? 3 instances available. 3 applications are running, or one application running in the 3 servers? So now in the Greet API, if I have database configuration, 3 instances will connect to the same database. 3 instances will connect to 3 different databases. 3 instances will connect to the same database. 3 instances will connect to 3 different databases. 3 instances will connect with the same database, because application is only one. Application is only one. Code is only one. Just running in 3 servers with different port numbers. Are you guys clear with my point? So now, how many URLs are available for the Greet API? How many URLs available for the Greet API? There are 3 URLs available for the Greet API. Can I say my Greet API is running in 3 instances? Can I say my Greet API is running in 3 instances? Yes, my Greet API is running in 3 instances. Okay. Now guys, in our project, we are having a FIAN client. FIAN client is available in the Welcome API. FIAN client is available in the Greet API. This is most important point now. Where is FIAN client? Which API contains a FIAN client? Which API contains a FIAN client? Welcome API contains a FIAN client. Now let me go to my Welcome API. My Greet API running in 3 servers. 3 servers, nothing but 3 URLs available. Now go to Welcome API. Welcome API having a FIAN client. Now guys, if you observe, if I go for second approach, is it recommended to configure the URL of the API, or it is not recommended to configure the URL of the API? I want to access Greet API. If I go for this URL configuration, what is the problem? What is the problem if I go for this URL now? Always it will go to the same server. Always it will go to the same server. How many instances available for the Greet API? There are 3 instances available for the Greet API. But now in the FIAN client, I am hard coding the URL as 9091. What is the meaning of 9091? 9091 means only one instance URL I am configuring. Actually, for the Greet API, 3 instances are available. One instance is running with the port number 9091. Another instance is pointing to 9092. Third instance is pointing to 9093. But in the Welcome API, I have implemented FIAN client. What is the purpose of a FIAN client? What is the purpose of a FIAN client? It is used for inter-service communication. Now, whenever we send a request to the Welcome REST controller, what this Welcome REST controller will do? Welcome REST controller will call the FIAN client method. What this FIAN client method should do? What this FIAN client method should do? FIAN client should interact with only one instance, or FIAN client should interact with 3 instances in the round robin fashion. FIAN client should access only one instance of the Greet API. FIAN client should interact with all the 3 instances in the round robin fashion. All the 3 instances in the round robin fashion. Now tell me, configuring the URL of the API to access is recommended. Configuring the URL of the API is not recommended. Configuring the URL of the API is not recommended because Greet API does not have only one URL. Greet API is having 3 different URLs. So here, when I am accessing the Welcome REST controller is talking to the FIAN client. FIAN client will talk to the Greet API, but Greet API having 3 URLs. So configuring the URL is recommended. Configuring the URL is not recommended. Configuring the URL is not recommended. Why configuring the URL is not recommended? If you configure the URL, always your FIAN client will talk to first instance of the Greet API. Suppose there are 1 lakh requests coming to Welcome API. Welcome API will access the Greet API for 1 lakh times. 1 lakh requests will go to only first instance. Then there is no use of running our Greet API with the multiple instances. Always if you are accessing only first instance, then what is the use of second instance and third instance? No use. Why I am running my Greet API in the 3 instances? I want to distribute the load to all the 3 instances. If you want to distribute the load to all the 3 instances, you should not configure the URL in the FIAN client. Okay, I will comment this, or I will remove this. I will comment this. I will enable service name. I will enable service name. When I enable the service name, what will happen? FIAN client will communicate with the service by using service name, where the service name contains the service URL. Now, when you send the request to the Welcome API will talk to the FIAN client. FIAN client is having a service name. Then FIAN client will go to service registry and it will ask service registry, hey service registry, I want to access Greet API. Can you give me the URL of the Greet API? For the Greet API, 1 URL is available. For the Greet API, 3 URLs are available. Come on, guys. Yesterday, I ran my Greet API with 1 instance. 1 URL is available. Yesterday, logic was when my FIAN client is talking to service registry with the service name, service registry will give 1 URL of the Greet API in the last session. But today, when my FIAN client is communicating with the service registry for the Greet API URL, Greet API is running in 1 instance, or Greet API running in the 3 instances? Greet API will run in the 3 instances. Okay, now FIAN client will get how many URLs for the Greet API? FIAN client will get how many URLs of the Greet API? 3 URLs. FIAN client will get how many URLs of the Greet API? 3 URLs. Guys, are you with me? Are you able to understand what I am trying to discuss? All of you, please type out, yes, we are following in the chat box. Very, very, very interesting topic. Are you following me? Yes, perfect. Now, I am going to run my welcome API. So when I run my welcome API, I will send a request to welcome REST controller. What this welcome REST controller will do? Welcome REST controller will talk to FIAN client. What the FIAN client will do? FIAN client should talk to greet API. Am I configuring the greet API URL in the FIAN client? Am I configuring the greet API service name in the FIAN client? Am I configuring the URL? Am I configuring the service name? I'm configuring the service name. If I configure the URL, then what is the problem? Always we will talk to first instance of the greet API. Load will increase on only first server. But I am running the greet API in 3 servers. I want to distribute the load. To distribute the load, should I hardcode the URL of the greet API in the FIAN client, or I should not hardcode the URL of the greet API in the FIAN client? We should not hardcode the URL. Instead of that, what I am configuring? I'm configuring the service name. Now, FIAN client know what is the URL of the greet API, or FIAN client don't know what is the URL of the greet API in my scenario? Does FIAN client know what is the greet API URL, or FIAN client don't know what is the URL of the greet API? In this scenario, look at this FIAN client. Does FIAN client knows the URL, or FIAN client don't know the URL of the greet API? FIAN client don't know the URL of the greet API. Then what FIAN client will do? FIAN client has to communicate with the greet API. Welcome API calling the greet API by using FIAN client. FIAN client having the name of the service. Who will maintain the service name and service URL? In our microservices architecture, who will maintain the service names and service URLs, guys? Service registry. Who is a service registry in our project? In our project, Eureka server is acting as a service registry. In our project, Eureka server is acting as a service registry. Now, I will send a request to welcome API. Welcome API will talk to FIAN client. FIAN client will talk to service registry. FIAN client will ask the service registry, hey service registry, I want to access greet API. Could you please give me the URL of the greet API? Then FIAN client, yes beta, lelo. There are 3 URLs available for the greet API. You enjoy. Now, FIAN client got how many URLs? FIAN client got 3 URLs of the greet API. Here, when FIAN client got the 3 URLs from the service registry, FIAN client got confused. Which URL I need to access now? With which URL I need to access the greet API? That is confusion for the FIAN client. Are you guys able to understand my point? Yesterday, there is no confusion. Why? Because yesterday also I used FIAN client with the service name only. But the thing is, yesterday I have given the service name. Yesterday with that service name, there is only one instance. There is only one URL for the greet API. So service registry given that URL to the FIAN client. FIAN client accessed greet API with that URL. But today, when FIAN client communicated with the service registry, FIAN client communicated with the service registry with the service name. Service registry provided 3 URLs for the service name. So now, once FIAN client got the 3 URLs from the service registry, FIAN client got getting confused here. Which URL I need to use to access the greet API? So here, when the FIAN client got confused, FIAN client is having one friend in the Spring Cloud. That person is called as Ribbon. In the FIAN client is having one friend in the Spring Cloud. That person name is called as Ribbon. When FIAN client getting more than one URL from the service registry, then FIAN client will talk to Ribbon. That Ribbon is called as a load balancer. That Ribbon will give instruction to the FIAN client. Hey FIAN client, first time go to first URL. Second time go to second URL. Third time go to third URL. Fourth time go to first URL. Fifth time go to second URL. Sixth time go to third URL. So FIAN client is communicating with the service registry to get the service URL. But service registry provided 3 URLs for the FIAN client. FIAN client getting confused with which URL it has to access the greet API. Then FIAN client will communicate with the Ribbon. Ribbon will decide with which URL FIAN client should communicate with the greet API. How many URLs available? 3 URLs available. What is the meaning of that? 3 instances are available. Now, if I send a request to the welcome API will talk to VN client. VN client will talk to service registry, will get the 3 URLs. Then VN client will talk to Ribbon. Ribbon will tell with which URL VN client should communicate with the Greet API. First URL, second request, second URL, third request, third URL. Load balancing will happen by using Ribbon. Sir, do we need to do any configuration for that? You no need to do any configuration. Ribbon is already part of the VN client. Ribbon is already part of the VN client. Can I show the demo? Load balancing is working or not? Can I show the demo? Load balancing is working or not? How can you identify that? The request is processed by 3 instances. In the response, we will get the port number. In which server our request is processed. By using port number, can you identify that request processed by which Greet instance? Greet instances are 3. First instance is 9091. Second instance is 9092. Third instance is 9093. Now let me run my welcome API. Let me show you the load balancing practically. Go to welcome API. I'm not doing any changes in the welcome API. Just I'm using VN client with the service name. Now let's start the welcome API. Run as boot application. Welcome API will run on the port number 8081. That is yesterday's project itself. Now refresh our Eureka server. Check in the Eureka server. Welcome API registered or not? As of now, it is not registered. Yes, now it registered. What is the port number of the welcome API, guys? What is the port number of the welcome API now? Welcome API running on the port number 8081. So welcome API having a PN client to communicate with the Greet API. Now let me go for my welcome API URL localhost colon 8081/welcome. Okay. So now, did I get the response from the Greet API? Did I get the response from the Greet API? So with the instance processed our request, I send a request to the welcome API. Welcome API using VN client. VN client send the request to which instance of the Greet API? Can I say second instance? How can you say it is second instance? Because the port number is 9092. Now, let me send the request once again. Go for this welcome, open another browser and another tab, send the request. Now, which instance processed our request? Second request processed by whom? 9093. Now, can I send one more request? Now, which one is processed? 9092. Now, send one more request. Now, 9091. 9091. If I keep on refreshing, now see here, the response is coming from the same instance. The response is coming in the round robin fashion. Response is coming from the same instance. The response is coming in the round robin fashion. So load balancing is happening or load balancing is not happening? Load balancing is happening or load balancing is not happening? Load balancing is happening. Who is doing that load balancing? Ribbon. Who is using Ribbon? VN client. Why VN client is using Ribbon? VN client getting 3 URLs for the API. So it is going to ask Ribbon with which URL it has to access the Greet API. Now do you understand why people will use a service registry in the project? If I don't use a service registry, then what happens? Then I need to access Greet API with the Greet API URL. So how many URLs we will access? Only one URL. But actually how many URLs are there? 3 URLs are available. Are you guys clear with my point? What is load balancing and how the load balancing is happening with the VN client? That is the beauty of the VN client. That is the beauty of the VN client. Can we achieve this functionality with the REST template and web client? No. We need to give the URL for the REST template and web client. In the VN client, we can give service name. With the VN client, we are giving the service name. What is the benefit if I am giving the service name for the VN client? What is the benefit of giving the service name for the VN client, guys? What is the benefit that I am getting? What is the benefit I am getting? Load balancing is the benefit. One application is communicating with another application with a load balancing without URL. Tomorrow, if I run one more instance of the greet API, do I need to change the welcome API or I no need to change the welcome API? Can I increase one more instance for the greet API? And can we see load balancing will happen? Can I increase one more instance for the greet API and can I check the client is sending that request to the new API or new instance or not? Can I increase the instance of the greet API now? Currently, the requests are sending to how many instances in the round robin fashion? I'm sending the request to welcome. Welcome is sending the request to greeter in the round robin fashion. Guys, if I don't print this port number, can you understand which instance processing our request? If I don't print the port number from the greet API, can you feel that load balancing is happening? No. So with that port number, you are able to get the clarity that requests are distributed to 3 instances. If I don't print the port number, you will not understand that. Which port number it is sending, which is server processed our request, in which is server that request is executed, that server port number we are getting. Now you see, I'm trying to send a request for the welcome 9093. So greet API third instance processed this request. Now 9092, refresh 9091, refresh 9093, refresh 9092, send the request again 9091. So how many instances are involved in the request processing? How many instances involved in the request processing, guys? Please respond. 3 instances involved in the request processing. Can I increase one more instance now? Can I increase one more instance now? Yes, observe. How to increase one more instance for the greet API. So I'm going to run this. Right click on the greet API, run as, run configuration 9094. Greet API selected, guys. Whenever you select it, directly it is not coming like this. Run as, run configuration. Observe carefully. Select the greet API. Right click on the project which you want to run with the dynamic arguments. 9094. Apply and run. Now I am increasing one instance for the greet API. So now total 4 instances will be available for the greet API. Go to this Eureka and can you check it? How many availability zones available? Availability zones nothing but servers. How many availability zones available for the greet API now? 4 availability zones available for the greet API. One availability zone is running on the 9091 port number. Another availability zone is running on the 9092. Third one is running on 9093. Fourth one is running on the 9094. So total, how many instances available for the greet API? 4 instances available for the greet API. Now, let me send the request. Let me send the request to welcome. Okay. Now, refresh it. Send the request. 9091. Send the request. Wow. So, the request is distributed to new instance or not? Request is going to the new instance or not? Now, how many instances involved in the request processing? 4 instances are involved. When the number of instances are increasing or decreasing, do I need to touch my FIAN client or I no need to touch my FIAN client? Do I need to make any changes to the FIAN client or I no need to make any changes to the FIAN client? No need to make any changes to the FIAN client. Why we no need to make any changes to the FIAN client? FIAN client is talking to the greet API. Welcome API contains a FIAN client. Welcome API contains a FIAN client. And welcome API, FIAN client will communicate with the greet API with the service name, not with the service URL. If you configure the service URL of the greet API, we need to change our FIAN client. I want my FIAN client to be loosely coupled with the number of instances available for the greet API. My FIAN client will use the name of the API service name. With that service name, my FIAN client will communicate with the service registry. Based on the service name, it will get the service URLs. How many URLs available today? 4 URLs are available. Tomorrow, 5 URLs will available. So now tell me, Eureka server playing the key role or Eureka server not playing the key role now? Eureka server playing the key role. Service registry. It will maintain the name of the service, instances of the service, URLs of the service. If service registry not available, we can't achieve this load balancing here. Because of this service registry only, my FIAN client is getting four URLs from the service registry. With those 4 URLs, it is talking to Ribbon. Ribbon is helping the FIAN client to identify which URL it has to use. Ribbon will tell to FIAN client to follow round robin fashion to communicate with the Greet API. Good, guys. How interesting topic it is. I hope you enjoyed it. Now you understand what is inter-service communication with FIAN client? Why people will go for FIAN client in the microservices? Why not REST template and web client? If I go with REST template and web client, are we going to get this feature? If I go with REST template and web client, are we going to get this feature? No. REST template web client always will communicate with the APIs by using URL. Okay. Similarly, can I increase instances for the welcome API also? Can I increase the instances for the welcome API also, guys? Yes, you can increase the instances for the welcome API also. How to increase? Right click, run as run configuration, pass the dynamic port number. That's it. That's it. So when I go for API gateway, I will do the load balancing for the welcome API also. When I go for API gateway, I will do the load balancing for the welcome API also. Clear? Guys, microservices topics are very, very important. I'm going little slow. Daily only one topic I am teaching. If I complete everything in one day, you will get confused. You need some time for practice. You need some time to digest these topics as well. Today you understand inter-service communication, what is the power of the FIAN client, and what is the purpose of Ribbon, and what is the role of the service registry. Today you got some better clarity than previous classes. Why I am using FIAN client, why I am using service registry. Are you clear? Yeah, now it's time for questions, guys. Questions and answers. Anybody having any questions? You can unmute your mic and you can ask me.
Sir, when you pass that -D and the port number, did
Yes.
it virtually create an instance, sir?
No, sir. -D will not create the instance. Okay. I'm running my application. While running the application, -D server port is used to pass the port number to our application execution. It is just to decide the port number. That's it. It is not creating the instance. Creating the instance means when I right click and run as boot application. So application will start. That is called one instance. If I start the application, which port number it will take? Default 8080. With 8080, how many instances you can run? Only one. For the second instance, different port number required. That's why I'm right clicking on the project. I'm going for run configuration. I'm selecting this. I'm giving argument. If you directly run also, no problem. It will work without giving this argument. If you don't give this argument, 8080, it will consider. I don't want 8080. I want a different port number. I'm passing this port number. This is the way to pass the port numbers in the runtime. When I pass, when I set this value and click on run, my project will start. For the project, this will be the port number.
But we configured 4 port numbers, right, sir? So correct. 4 parameters got passed. Does it cache all the 4 port numbers?
No, mister. I'm running one application. At the time of running, first time, I'm passing one port number and I clicked on the run button. That means my project is started. That is one instance. Second time, I will go here and I will run as run configuration. I will give the different value. This is second instance like this. That means 4 times I am passing the port numbers because I'm running 4 instances.
Okay. Sir, and the Ribbon, does it support only round robin, sir? Because there are many protocols for load balancer. Right, sir?
Ribbon default value is the round robin. We can customize that also.
All the protocols does it have?
Yes.
All types of load balancers.
Sticky sessions and all we can configure, but the default one is the round robin.
But if we go for Docker, then the concept is completely different, right, sir? When we deploy it over there, the load balancing is completely different there, right, sir?
That in the cloud platforms, load balancer is different. In the Spring Cloud, load balancer is different. This load balancer, we will call it as a client-side load balancing. In the cloud side, like in the AWS or Kubernetes, that load balancing is called as server-side load balancing. Here, why we will call it as a client-side load balancing is, so my FIAN client only deciding which server it has to hit. That means my FIAN client side only it is deciding to which server it has to send the request. That's why it is called as client-side load balancing. But when you go for AWS cloud, that will be decided by the AWS load balancer to which URL the request should go. That is server-side load balancing.
Okay.
Sir, can we customize the load distribution also, sir?
No, sir, we can't customize because we are going with the ribbon, right? Ribbon is a predefined component in the Spring Cloud that will decide how to distribute the load, and the default mechanism it is using as round robin.
Okay, one server has more hardware capacity and one server has less capacity.
No, we can't do that here.
Okay, sir.
Generally, when you go for the load balance, right, based on the server, we can't distribute the load. Load balancer algorithms will be available. Based on the algorithm, it will decide which request should go to which server. So if the server is having 10 GB RAM, another server having 4 GB RAM, that means send more requests to 10 GB RAM server. No, it will not work like that. Round robin means one after other, one after other.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Sir, to activate ribbon, what are the steps we need to follow, sir?
You no need to do anything I told you. If you create the FIAN client will internally use this ribbon. That's it. You don't need to do any changes for that. Whatever the changes that you have done for FIAN client configuration, with the same changes you are going to get the ribbon. Ribbon is an inbuilt concept in the FIAN client.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, if one server goes down automatically in the runtime production,
no problem.
Automatically, Eureka
right,
server takes care.
Now here we are having 4 instances, right? Suppose if I stop one instance, what will happen?
Yeah, please say. Yeah.
If I stop one instance, what will happen?
It will stop.
Request will go to the remaining 3 instances.
Yes.
Request will go to the remaining 3 instances. Now suppose, see here. Let me show you that as well. So here currently how many instances available for the grid?
Yeah, 4.
4 instances are available for the grid. Okay. Now let me go to here /welcome. Now let me send the request to the welcome. So how many instances, grid instances involved in the request processing? Can I say all 4 involved?
Yes. No, sir. 3 only.
3 only.
4.
All 4 involved or not involved?
Yeah, involved.
4 in.
All 4 are involved. Now let me go here. Here guys, observe. In our console, there is an option here to see the number of applications are running in our machine.
Right.
If I click on console, now can you see grid
Yes.
API running how many places? 1, 2, 3, and 4 is available.
Yes.
Now let me, this is the third one, first one, second one, third one. So this is the instance which is running on the port number 9093. Okay. So this is running on the port number 9093. Let me kill this. I stopped it. I killed the instance which is running with the port number 9093. Completely, it got shut down. So now, how many URLs available for grid
3.
API now?
3.
Refresh it. See the number of instances for the grid API?
Yeah.
3 available.
Automatic.
Which one got deleted?
Yeah, 9093.
91 is available, 94 is available, 92 is available. Now let me send the request to the welcome. Last time, 4 instances involved in the request processing. Now send it. Which one processed? 94. Now refresh it. 1 second. /welcome. Runtime URL /welcome. Now which one processed?
91.
91 got processed. Now which one?
92.
92. Now which
94.
one?
94.
So is it waiting for 93 or it is not waiting for 93? Still
not.
It is not going to wait for 93, but it is still not updated in the Eureka and in the FIAN client. That's why what my ribbon is not yet updated. That's why sometimes we are getting the error. Why we are getting this 500 error? It is trying to hit the 9093. But actually 93 available or not available?
Not available.
93 not available. It will take some time to do that. Now we are not getting any error. 2 times I got the error. Now I am not getting the error. Why I got the error 2 times?
Yeah, it's just waiting.
System should be updated. That is, ribbon should be updated. That FIAN client should be updated. Now I am not getting any exception. 919294. 919294. 2 times it got failed. Why 2 times it failed? That means at that time it tried to contact with the 93 server. 93 server got stopped. Okay. So if any one server went down, that's not a problem. The remaining servers will process our request. That is called high availability.
Okay.
Suppose if I run the Greet API in only one server, if that server got down, my application will be down.
Yes.
So now two times my request got failed, but in the production, those two also very costly, very important, right? That's
Right.
where in the project we are going to implement a circuit breaker. If any service is down, then fallback logic will be executed. Circuit breaker patterns will be available. We need to develop our microservices with the resilience pattern. So now two times it failed because 9093 not available. Those two times also I don't want to fail the request. I want to execute some alternate logic. That's where circuit breaker comes into picture. That is our upcoming topic.
Okay, very good. So we are not going to lose the two instances
Single
also,
request
two
also.
requests also. Okay.
We should not lose the single request also.
The client will ask us why it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got
That's where we will implement circuit breaker. If I implement circuit breaker, when there is some exception in our system, immediately my fallback logic will execute.
Okay, right.
Yeah. Any other questions, anyone, guys?
Sir, it is
Because-
going one by one, right?
Yeah.
If any in between, if any, for example, it is going round robin, and for example, 90919 to 9394. If 93 is busy, will it wait for 93, or it will automatically, go for next one?
Round robin heartbeats will be available, sir. If that server is going down, suppose here, what will happen is the ribbon will be waiting for the heartbeats of the servers. Heartbeats of the servers, nothing but the server, the instances which are running, right? Always they will give the heartbeats to the load balancer. That means I'm active, I'm active, I'm active, I'm active. Like that, heartbeats will come. If heartbeats are not coming, that means the ribbon will understand that the server is dead. It will not send the request to that server. It will wait for the heartbeats.
No. My question is, it is running, but it is processing the previous request. Now another request is coming.
It will not wait. It will not wait because our servers are implemented with multi-threading, right? For every request, new thread will be created. It will go to that server only, not for the another one.
Okay, got it, sir. Thank you.
Because so now, if you imagine single server is there, how multiple users are able to access the single server? For every request, one thread will be created.
Yes.
Yeah. So in the round robin means definitely you will get the request when your turn comes. Whether you are busy or idle, that doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, is there any?
Sorry, can you come again, guys?
Sir, is there any limit for creating the instances?
There is no limit. It depends upon your system configuration.
Okay.
Guys,
Sir,
currently we are working on these instances in our local system, right? In the real time, these instances will run as pods in the Kubernetes cluster. One application will have multiple pods. So today, I think 2 days back, I uploaded one video, horizontal pod auto scaling. Here, I'm running 4 instances for the Greet API. Suppose, for example, for 10,000 requests, I assumed that 10,000 requests are coming. I am running my application in the 3 instances or 4 instances. For example, if I get 1 lakh requests per minute, if I get 1 crore requests per minute,
Yes, you should scale.
these three instances will sufficient or not sufficient?
No, not sufficient. We should scale this.
We should scale. How to scale it? Again, manually we need to scale it. Suppose now I'm assuming that so 1 crore people will access my application. I'm running my application in the 100 instances, but actually only 1 lakh people are accessing. So can we decide how many instances we need to run for our application? Can we predict that?
No.
Simple example, assume that Flipkart people announced Big Billion Day tomorrow. Flipkart people expected that 1 crore people will access per minute. They scaled their application to 1,000 instances. Okay, in the morning, that is fine. Morning 9 o'clock, Big Billion Day started. So morning in the Flipkart, what happened is assume that. So 9 a.m., the RPM for the Flipkart is 1 lakh. Okay. Then at 9:30 a.m., the RPM for the Flipkart is 10 lakhs. Okay. Then after at 10 a.m., the RPM went up like anything. At 10 a.m., the RPM is 50 lakh per minute. Okay. By seeing the 50 lakh RPM, what Flipkart people has done? They increase it to 1,000 instances. They are running the application in the 1,000 servers. Assume that because they don't want to lose the revenue. So by 10 o'clock, they increased the instances to 1,000. But at 10:15, bomb blast in the India. then what will happen? Do you think that 50 lakh people will still use Flipkart?
No, it will come down.
Gradually, it is, all of a sudden it will come down because people will divert from shopping to media. Then what Flipkart has to do now?
They need to reduce.
They need to reduce. So here, increasing the instances, decreasing the instances is a manual process, right? In the industry, people will not follow this manual process. How our applications will run in the real time is based on the number of requests are coming, automatically instances should be increased and instances should be decreased based on the load which is coming. So that's where people are using Kubernetes in the market. In the Kubernetes, we are having this auto scaling concept. If the load is increasing, instances will increase. If load is decreasing, instances will decrease. That concept I uploaded a video yesterday in the YouTube, horizontal pod auto scaling. Unfortunately, only 700 views I got for that video. That is the most important video in the real time. People don't know importance of that video. Horizontal pod auto scaling. When more number of requests are coming to our application, it will increase the instances. When less number of requests are coming, it will decrease the instances. 15 minutes video I have prepared with the live demonstration using Kubernetes cluster. That is the video I have shared in the groups yesterday. But people don't know importance of that. In the Java, we don't have any concept to increase the instances, decrease the instances automatically. That's where in the industry, people are using Kubernetes for auto scaling. Auto scaling means based on the incoming traffic, our instances should increase or our instances should decrease. How I configure that is when my application is running in the machine, if my CPU utilization is greater than 50, automatically my instances should increase. If CPU percentage is less than 50, automatically my instances should decrease. So 15 minutes video is there. I will share in the group once again. Please go through that. You will understand what is auto scaling in the real time. I can't show you that scaling now because it is Kubernetes topic, not in the Spring Boot. In the Spring Boot, we don't have any mechanism to auto scale our instances. In the Spring Boot, you need to manually increase and manually decrease the instances. But in the real time, applications deployment will happen on the Kubernetes. Kubernetes is the most powerful technology in the market today for the deployments of our applications. So when you deploy your application on the Kubernetes, it will provide you auto scaling. What is the meaning of auto scaling? If more traffic is coming, your instances will increase. If less traffic is coming, your instances will decrease.
Automatic deployment.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
There is a lot of subject, guys. In the real time, as a developer, most of the people will understand the process till code committed to Git repository. Once the code is committed to Git repository, developers don't know what is happening in the project. Lot of operations will happen. Yes.
Sir, who is responsible to store the port number, sir?
Sorry?
In case you are deploying the application in the production, previously, sir, in monolithic, you are mentioned the port number in property.application files.
Listen. When you go for production deployment in the Kubernetes, right? So every instance will run in a separate machine. One Linux virtual machine will be created in the Kubernetes. Suppose in the real time, if you want to run your application in the 10 servers, 10 instances, 10 Linux machines will be created virtually by Kubernetes. In one computer, 10 virtual machines will be created. In every virtual machine, one container will be created. Docker containers will be created. Docker container, nothing but one virtual Linux machine. So now, if I run my application in the 5 instances, 5 Linux machines will be created. That means what? 5 Docker containers will be created. So in the real time, deployments will be managed with the Dockers and Kubernetes. Got it? You don't need to set the port numbers and all.
Sir, what is the use of this load balancer?
This load balancer, suppose if you don't have the Docker and Kubernetes in your system, Docker Kubernetes recently came into market earlier, right? If your project is not using Docker and Kubernetes, if you want to do the load balancing, then this is the approach, manual process. If you are using Docker and Kubernetes, then this is not required.
Okay. And second thing, sir, who is responsible to store the port number?
people.
Initially, sir, you can use the application.
DevOps people will decide that. Operations will happen on that.
No, sir. My question is sir, in case you are creating port number, okay. This port number, which object is stored? Means environment is storing this port number or not?
In the Kubernetes, there will be a config map and secrets will be available for the properties that are required for your application. That is what I'm telling you. DevOps people will manage environmental properties. You don't set that. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Fine. Anyone else having any other question? Please practice this project, guys. This is very, 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 very important to understand the microservices. Without practicing, you won't understand anything. Tomorrow, we will understand API gateway. So once if I explain the API gateway, then we will get the full clarity on the microservices architecture. Thank you. With this, I'm stopping for today. We'll meet in the tomorrow's class. Bye-bye. Good night.